Welcome to the Creative Brew, helping you keep your creative juices brewing. We're giving out chunks of insight, motivation, and practicality for your creative journey. This is a new episode of the Creative Brew, sharing the creative journeys of entrepreneurs, musicians, athletes, anyone willing to sort of share their pitfalls and successes on this path. And like I said, we're here at Panels, Comic Books, and Coffee Bar here in Oceanside, California, right off of Mission Avenue. Great place. They have great titles, great coffee. Got a lot of specials going on as far as with graphic novels and other things. But we have someone new. A lot of times I'll bring in different, different creative types, different artists, writers, things of that nature. Today I have a musician, Lady Dang. Like I said, I'll let her introduce herself. Very energetic, very enlightening person from the things that I've read and things I've seen with her music. So I'll let her introduce herself, and we'll go from there. Go ahead.
Thank you, Quantel. Thank you for hosting this. My name is Lady Dang in the house. I mean, my friends and family know me by Kyme. And I got into music in college. I'd say, in college. Okay. My best friend, who you have people who see things in you prior to you seeing it. Yeah. So she was a MC up in LA and invited me to perform with her. And that was the beginning of performing as an adult.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Other than that, it was like the shower in my house, So.
Yeah.
It's all secret, yeah.
So what was that point? Now, you just brought a good point, and that's something that I try to, tell a lot of people, especially coming from me. Like I said, I try to give a lot of insight and things to other people.
Sure.
Where did you figure out, what was that point where you figured out, okay, I could actually do this, instead of them, say, hey, look, come out here and do this. You can do it until you actually believe it yourself. What was that point?
You know what? In secret, I always wrote. I've been writing since I was a little girl. Yeah. It was my therapy. So when my writings became public, AKA to melody, I was quitting on her the day of the performance. Mm-hmm. I had such Bambi legs about it and would stress her out and tell her, I'm not doing it. And honestly, the point of you knowing you could do it is when you do it. Mm-hmm. It's never before, really, if you've never done it before is what I'm saying. Yeah. But as I call it, swinging your bat. So the more you swing your bat, the more you start getting to know yourself on your swing. Yeah. So that's when you start knowing that you can, to a certain degree, because there's challenges that come up with every single time you swing.
Oh, yeah. Yes, best believe that. That's just listen to your music, and you've got. I listened to a sample of your newest song.
Thank you.
It's sort of an eclectic sort of mix of hip hop, storytelling, with some other things. Where did you feel like you sort of melded? Got a style that's for you. Where did you? I know you're heavily influenced by certain things, but where did you get to the point to where you could feel like, okay, this is who I am, and I'm just going to go this direction?
Sure. So music came back to my life about 3 years ago, and just practicing to even just find my sound. Yeah. That's when I actually noticed who my influences were. Okay. Like, I never knew who they were until you actually put your voice on a recording, for me anyways. Yeah. Which just led me to understand what actually influenced me. But it's coming from me. So because it came from me, I just decided that I'm going to trust it. Yeah. No matter what the influences were, underneath all of that was going to come my interpretations of all of my influences, which would make it original, right? Yeah. And when you pay attention to your body and like your hearing and yourself like that, you tend to open up to an awareness that's more about like, okay, I'm just gonna trust this. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just gonna trust this, that my feet are moving for a reason, and I'll recognize when I recognize it.
Yeah.
Not 1 minute before, not one, you know, like you're just gonna recognize it when you come across it. Okay. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's good. I mean, it's one of those to where I think with, you know, even personally with a lot of the things that I do, or you know, I'm always sort of throwing around the, you know, the concept of you know, faith, or you know, just really just having an awareness of sort of, you know, especially as a creative, you know, you start to figure out who you are.
Sure.
You know, who I was, you know, 10 years ago is completely different. From now, and I'm still learning, different things. So how do you feel like, for you, how do you feel like you know, faith has been sort of fundamental to everything that you do, you know, in your career, personal life, spiritual life? How do you, I mean, how's that been like a sort of a fundamental block for you?
My faith is essential to what I'm doing, because I didn't care about music at all. I was signed in my 20s. I had a horrible experience that wasn't just run-of-the-mill horrible. It was like life and death horrible. So it traumatized me a lot, and I didn't care. And I knew I was successful in hair back in the day, and I still was successful in hair when I did music then, and I still am successful in hair to this day. So it wasn't like my end all. It wasn't like, oh, I have to be in music or my life is gonna end, you know? But it was my faith that whispered me back into music, because I was doing fine without it. I didn't care about it whatsoever. So basically, if it wasn't for my faith, I wouldn't be back in music at all.
Oh wow. Yeah, I think it's one of those where, you know, you always have that sort of a almost still small voice that that sort of tugs you, you know, and like even you know, you feel like you're successful, you know, in your hair business, and you know, that's great. But I think for anyone, you know, they've got that sort of still small voice that, you know, it's one of those where like you've got those talents, you've got those gifts, and you know, it keeps whispering to you. You know, I think it compels you, you know, and sooner or later you either give into it or you just keep ignoring it. And I think those talents and gifts go on to the next person. So I think, you know, just really just having the awareness of, you know, getting back to it. And not to say you didn't have to, but it's one of those where, you know, somehow or another, you know, that gift that you still had, it still circles around, you know, right back to you. So,
you know, honestly, for me, I had a wall up. I didn't care. I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't hear anything when it came to music, because it was that hurtful. But what you just said was so pivotal, in that if it is your calling, I do have to say that, because I believe there's a lot of talented people in the world. And it almost like, it doesn't even almost, it surpasses talent. And if you were gifted and talented, sometimes it's used like intermingled, but then there's a call, right? Something that you didn't even make up. It's just kind of part of your makeup, and you're just like, well, okay. It's a great place to be when it's like, this is not gonna make or break me. So why not just do it? There has to be some kind of reason for it, and I'm gonna find out, you know? So
thing that's pulling at your heart and thing that you want to do, all the rest of that stuff will come into play. So I think you know, especially with creatives, with musicians and things like that, I think you've got to be able to express those talents and gifts. Some odd reason they had to work a regular job. Not to say there's anything bad about that, but sometimes they can let those things that's sort of bottled up sort of seep out into their personal life in a negative way, because they're not able to share their music or share their art and things like that. So that's something I'm real aware about, and something I try to teach others is, you know, figure out ways to, you know, focus on your gift, focus on your talent. If you've got a gift to write or to sing, focus on it 30 minutes out of the day. Now, not to say I don't want you to quit your job completely. Don't do that. be practical about it. But at the same time, you got those talents. I applaud you for being able to go around that full circle, even when even when the industry sort of smacked you in the face a little bit.
Oh, not a little bit. It punched me and kicked me while I was on the ground. Yeah. And anybody who's been in the industry knows what it is that I'm talking about, who's ever had these types of experiences, because those are the stories you don't hear about. So it's okay to say that. It's okay to say that we got our teeth knocked out and like we're kicked on the ground.
Oh yeah, and I think people need to hear that. I mean,
that's real.
You've got a lot of people that they see these things on Instagram or on social media, and they see these musicians and like, oh, I want to be like them. You don't realize the sacrifices and just beat downs they've had through their career to get to where they where they are. And I think with people sort of seeing this, whoever sees this story, either see it or hear the story, being able to say, hey, look, okay, I know there's going to be pitfalls, there's going to be hills, there's going to be valleys, and really just stay in the course. And it's one of those where I think, especially the younger generation, they have to be able to see that. It's one of those where we see the the facade of these images and things like that, and you don't realize the 10 years of struggle that they had to get to that point. So yeah, that's great. Like I said,